Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, be sure to join the email list at jackwilkie.co. And if you'd like to support my work, go to jackwilkie.co/subscribe, where you'll see the options there. Now let's go ahead and get to today's article. Why Pride Month is Dying, June 3rd, 2025. Pride Month is dying. If you haven't thought about it in a while, try to remember what it was like taking a trip to the store in June of 2021 or 2022 with rainbows everywhere you looked. Even in my fairly conservative Texas town, Walmart had a special section for Pride packaged food products. Target was perhaps the high watermark for corporate depravity with their displays featuring transgender swimwear for 5-year-olds in 2023. Virtually every major corporation uttered the annual rainbow shibboleth in one way or another. But Target's displays brought a kind of backlash that hinted that the game might be changing. In the same year, Bud Light became the first to definitively show that the tide was turning. Their campaign, featuring pretend woman Dylan Mulvaney, proved to be perhaps the biggest ad campaign blunder in history, a misstep so bad it should be studied by marketing majors for years to come. Fast forward to 2025, and many corporations seem to have forgotten to put up their rainbow profile picture on social media. In some stores, even Target is reportedly featuring patriotic product displays where Pride merchandise stood in previous years. Anecdotally, the comments sections under corporate Pride Month posts used to be about 50-1 in support of the agenda, with the rabid hordes shouting down anyone who dared dissent. Now it's turned almost 180 degrees. People are not having it. It's not just personal anecdotes or drive-by social media observations either. Last year, The Guardian reported that U.S. support for gay marriage and other LGBT rights issues went backwards for the first time since 2015. Just last week, Gallup found that GOP support for gay marriage has fallen 14% in just 3 years and is at its lowest point in a decade. Though there's a long way to go, it's hard to deny that there's a turning of the tides going on. However, this momentum shift teaches us a lesson that the church should have known all along. All it took to bring down the movement was a steady diet of truth. The LGBT movement got away from their original sitcom-pushed message of the 90s and 2000s that they're just like us and whatever they do in their own bedroom is nobody else's business. They are not Oscar from The Office or a character on Will and Grace, leading lives exactly like married heterosexual couples. When twisted sexual desires are at the heart of your identity, monogamy rarely scratches that itch. Truth came to light, and we've learned that they aren't just like us, that the community's degeneracy is rampant, and that they had no intention of keeping it in their own bedroom, but instead want to disciple our kids with their worldview. They also showed their hand with transgenderism. The sight of male Leah Thomas towering over his female swimming competition was just too much for many people to go along with. They had bought the rhetoric this far, but men competing with women and entering women's locker rooms crossed a line. In other words, the truth came out. Many people who bought the ideas of tolerance and if it doesn't hurt me, it's not my business have seen that that was all a ruse. That's why the momentum is shifting away from Pride Month and the LGBT movement as a whole. Light has been shed, and once people learn a truth, they can't unlearn it. Ephesians 5:11-13 tells us that this is how sin is defeated. Do not participate in the unfruitful deeds of darkness, but instead even expose them, for it is disgraceful even to speak of the things which are done by them in secret. But all things become visible when they are exposed by the light, for everything that becomes visible is light. So, why didn't we do that? When some of us called the gay rights movement a slippery slope 15 years ago, many Christians rolled their eyes. Much Christian writing and teaching on the matter has been aimed at making sure nobody thinks we're big meanies. The myth that Christians are hateful toward LGBT people has been pushed as loudly from church pulpits as it has from major media. As Dr. Vodi Bakum pointed out, nobody starts a sermon by saying, "I love the adulterer community. I don't want anyone to think I hate adulterers. I even have friends who are adulterers." Why did every proclamation against homosexuality begin that way? We were afraid and wanted the praise of men. Even 2 years ago, when I wrote that pedophilia is so inextricably tied to the movement that you could consider it the plus in LGBTQ+, I was criticized by one preacher because, quote, "that will push them away," end quote. Notice he didn't say it was untrue. He said it would hurt feelings to point out undeniable truths, so we shouldn't say it. All along, we should have been boldly proclaiming that what homosexuality actually is beyond the love is love platitudes. We should have been pointing to the high rates of child sexual abuse, promiscuity, STDs, domestic violence, depression, and suicide among those who have exchanged the natural for the unnatural, Romans 1:26-27. The only chance they have to be rescued from it is if someone loves them enough to tell them truths that they don't like or want to hear. They are ugly, unpalatable truths. They might make us look harsh to many in the world, but we have to stop being afraid of the truth. These ugly truths were always going to come out one way or the other. We should be warning people of the dire effects of their actions long before anybody has to see those effects play out, because the truth can set them free.